Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Adrian. Hello, everybody. If Adrian can bring up the annual accounts on screen. Yep. So we run our financial year to the end of March, 31st of March 2020, and you can see a comparison with the prior year, 2018, 2019 on screen. These accounts at the moment are draft. Currently the focus of an independent examination by a third-party independent examiner, but I don't expect there to be any material changes when we sign the accounts at our next physical meeting. Don't know when that will be, and submit them to the Charity Commission. So the first page is our income and expenditure, profit and loss if you like, and you'll see at the very bottom that we had surplus income over expenditure of 8,887, figure at the bottom left of your screen, and I'll talk you through the detail above that shows how we arrived at that position. So FENEG News, as Neil has mentioned, it's now in its third year under the direction of Adrian. He's not just a Zoom guru, he's the editor of the FENEG News. And as Neil said, the magazine goes from strength to strength. The last 5 issues have all been 68-page editions. And the significance of that is that that's the maximum number of pages that we can print within the weight guidelines given to us by the commercial distributor. So 68-page gives us greater opportunity for selling advertising and obviously carrying as many of the messages, stories, news items about each of the member groups. So the problem really for Adrian, as the number of members has grown, is making space available to all of you each time we put an edition out. 3 editions a year, which work in harmony with the academic year, promoting the adult education courses at Cottenham Village College. So we attract strong levels of advertising support. We always sell out. We don't really have a problem in getting all of the space that we've got available filled. And the slight increase in advertising revenue that you see between this year and last year is that all 3 editions this year were 68 pages, where only 2 of those were 68 pages last time round. So when we increase the pagination, we can obviously sell a little bit more advertising space. We don't suffer any problems with bad debts. We've got a very, very supportive advertiser base, and we're very grateful to the many local businesses that continue to support the association by advertising in the FENEG News. We'd actually reached record surplus last financial year, with just over £7,500. And that was really off the back of increasing the editions to 68 pages. But in the last 12 months, we haven't been able to achieve the same sort of level of surplus because we've actually increased the distribution to reflect the growth in the number of homes in all of the villages, but principally Waterbeach and Willingham. So we now deliver 7,400 specifically copies, and that's 750 up on the 6,650 at the start of 2018. And the impact of that, of course, is that our print costs have increased, and so our surplus has fallen back now to just below £7,000. But it is a strong revenue producer for the FENEG Community Association, and obviously that money is used then to support the grant applications we receive each year. We were happy with that level of income. We put our rates up in 2015 for advertising, and we plan to hold our advertising rates. Or at least we would have been happy, because as you've heard from Neil, the lockdown meant that the commercial distributor actually had to stop the distribution of the latest edition. We got the edition away over a weekend in Cottenham, where the distribution is carried out by the Scouts, but the commercial distributor had to stop on March 24th. And as Neil mentioned, as a consequence, we've but we know that we're going to take a bit of a financial hit over the next 12 months. We can't recoup that income, and we're unlikely to be able to manage our costs down to compensate. And actually, we aren't sure when we're going to be able to produce and distribute a worthwhile edition. CVC is still considering the possibility of being able to put on an adult education programme in the autumn term, and it'll be interesting when we hear perhaps from member groups present this evening how they're viewing the rest of the year, whether they are thinking about trying to organise virtual events or similar, which could be promoted if we produce another edition or the next edition of the FENEDGE News, which would normally have been delivered to homes late July. So we'll keep that situation under review and let you know as soon as we've made a decision. Working down then in terms of the income, the membership subscriptions reflect the fact that we've welcomed 9 new member groups this year. Liz Milway, I know from Rampton Spinners, has joined the meeting, and we welcome them back to the Community Association after a short break. But lots of new names: Waterbeach Cricket Club, Sustainable Cottenham, Chris is here, Cambridge Equine Assisted Learning, All Saints Church Rampton Action Group, FENEDGE Association for the Learning Disabled, the Cottenham Club, Cottenham Charities, Friends of All Saints Cottenham, and Cottenham Feast Parade. In terms of bank interest, just dealing with the smaller amounts, we have an online interest-bearing account with Cambridge and Counties Bank, pays us annual interest on the 30th of April, and last year that was £754.44. The interest rate was relatively high at 1.5%, even rising to 1.75% for 2 months, but as we all know, it's not going to be as generous going into 2020, 2021. So as it was a festival year, you'll see that there was no income booked in 2019, whereas there was £38,788 of income from the FENEDGE festival in 2019, June 2019, and £29,000 worth of expenditure. So the surplus that we show in our accounts is just close to 9,750. But that isn't the sum total of what goes on at a festival. And we estimate that the total sum raised for FECA member groups and charities was in excess of £17,000. How do we get to that sort of view? Well, we immediately gave back £2,000 to FECA member groups that helped us over the weekend, and groups that benefited, including Renegades Rugby Club, who ran a bar on Saturday night on the village green, Cottenham Scouts, Churches Together in Cottenham, Cottenham Colts and Cottenham Toy Library all ran activities and shared proceeds with the FENEDGE Community Association, and they raised £2,000 between them. We'd agreed to give 50% of the surplus, 9,748, to 4 member groups. We've split the surplus 50-50 with 4 member groups who, you may recall, we asked groups to apply for grant funding, and Cottenham Tennis Club, Sustainable Cottenham, Willingham Youth Trust and Rampton Friday Club, a new club in that village, each received £1,200. Other significant beneficiaries from participating in the festival we know include Cottenham Primary School PTCA, who ran their hugely popular Friday night dance, and Ladybird Preschool, who ran an equally popular Pim's tent over the weekend. And we know that those groups, plus some others, raised over £5,000. So the message, as it was 2 years ago, it's always clear that it shows what your group could achieve if you get involved with the planning and running of the 2021 festival. And in answer to the question that Neil has mentioned, the provisional dates, I actually notified the marquee supplier yesterday evening, the 18th, 19th and 20th of June 2021. So keep your fingers crossed, say your prayers, and let's hope that we are able next year to run another very successful festival in the village. Okay, we just go back to the accounts themselves, Adrian, and when we get to grants, if you'd be kind enough to pop that onto the screen, that would be great. And we're still working our way through the income and expenditure, the page before. That's great, thanks Adrian. Okay, the fun run figures, we'd finished on the festival, but the fun run figures actually relate to the fun run which was held in May of 2019. So it's actually the fun run a year ago. And the figures actually are very similar to previous year. Entry levels almost identical. But in 2018, we actually benefited from a very kind contribution of £250 from Tottenham Parish Council. They were marking the death of Stephen Hawking as we were giving the money to the Cambridgeshire Motor Neurone Disease Association. So the surplus this year sank back to just under £1,000. And sadly, as you probably all aware now, like so many of all our events, the fun due to be held this Saturday has been cancelled. Little bit of expenditure that's disappeared. At last year's AGM, Adrian Stevens had identified a free website hosting provider, and as Neil mentioned, very successfully managed the transition of the FECA website from the old to the new provider, and also gave it a welcome refresh at the same time. So as a result, we're benefiting from an annual saving now of £126, which we paid for hosting. There was an additional sum of £100 which we spent to facilitate that process this time last year. Insurance is another cost that we bear. This is our public liability insurance with Zurich Insurance, but they've recently confirmed an additional 3 months of cover free of charge due to the coronavirus pandemic, so the policy now expires on the 31st of July. The cost is a little bit higher than in the previous year.